Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome. We have a little stream for you on a Wednesday morning. Kamala polling well, tightening the race. Some absolutely bonkers battleground polls that we will go over. Morning Consult. I don't know what Morning Consult was smoking, but they've got some absolutely Savannah bananas polls that we will review in a second. We also have some international news. Israel expanding the sphere of retaliation after an attack from Hezbollah on a neighborhood that killed 12 children. There is an attack on the second in command of Hezbollah. And then overnight, inside Tehran, we have the assassination of Hamas's leader in Iran. Boy, my kingdom for a State Department that I trusted or believed in. You know, the problem with the State Department believing that they're the smartest people in the room is when they're not, oh boy, are you in trouble. Because there's some sticky situations. You know, this is some you want the real 4D chess thinkers kind of situations that are happening right now. If Israel gets into a wider war and Iran is backed by China or Russia, yeah. We got an electoral crisis in Venezuela. Ooh. I mean, not great. Not great, Bob. But we will go over all of that. The death of the Hamas leader was supposed to be needed for a ceasefire. No, if you're referring to what I have said, I believe that the death of Yahya Sinwar in Gaza would be one of the things that would predicate a Israeli pullback. There are two things that I think would predicate an Israeli pullback. Number one, the release of the hostages that are there, or the freeing of the hostages that are there. And then two, the death of the local Hamas leader for whom reportedly dreamed up and executed the October 7th plan, and has said via leaked communications that he's cool either way. Either he becomes a martyr or Israel continues to kill Palestinians. He's thrilled with that. He loves that. Big Papa Tony Caruso. Let's everybody here in the chat. Let's get a big round of applause for my brother, my paisan, Tony Caruso, who became a father for the first time yesterday. A big round of applause to the boy. We have known each other since my first day in high school. And we are on this journey like we were in high school together, with Anthony leading the way yet again. He is now a father to a bouncing baby girl. Welcome to the world, Annabella Marie Caruso, and we are excited to bring her little cousin, her little twin into the world, in a few weeks' time. Now, Now that I've said nice things about Tony, let me tell you what a mush piece of crap he is. So for whatever reason, Tony really believed in Joe Biden. Just loved Joe Biden. Just a huge Joe Biden fan. Gigantic. He's got Joe Biden tattooed on his ass. In Joe we trust. That's what Anthony woke up every morning saying, and then went to sleep every morning muttering, or every evening muttering. So after the debate, he still believed in Joe so much. He was in our group chat trying to egg a friend of ours who's like a legit Trump fan into upping a like $5 bet. So I decided to goad Tony's ass because that's what I do. And I was like, oh, I'll bet you $250 that Joe Biden loses to Donald Trump. And so then there became some haggling. Tony quit the group chat because he's a big fat sissy. And then eventually he comes back and he's like, all right, $100. And then Joe Biden dropped out. So he can't win. He can't win this bet. He cannot pay me $100 because my win condition is Trump winning. But he cannot pay me the $100 if Kamala wins. And so that's what he is saying down here, that the polls smell like a push. Smell like a push. So this is what his unwavering love, slobbering, kissy love affair with Joe Biden has brought him to this precipice. Although now he's fallen out of a coconut tree. He loves Kamala Harris. He's just a huge Kamala fan. He's a big fan of Medicare for all. He's a big fan of a mandatory gun buyback program. Big fan of an ending of fracking. You know, that's what Tony believes in. And salute to him for sticking to his principles. Sticking to his principles because, that's what I've always known him to do, is just hardcore San Francisco socialist, Tony Caruso, as he's always believed. As he's always believed. Border czar, Kamala Harris, #1 fan by old Tony C. Old Tony C. As the leftist in the group, I welcome Tony. See, look at that. Look at that. You're welcomed in with you're sitting at the socialist table, Tony. Go ahead, grab your lunchbox and grab a seat. Grab a seat with the other three socialists in my chat. In all seriousness, I am so thrilled. I've been Ash and I have been looking through all the pictures that Anthony's been sending of his brilliant, beautiful baby girl born at a fancy ass hospital up in Palm Beach. Good Lord. Whew. You know you're living good, Tony, when that girl is born in Palm Beach. Not Broward. Certainly not Miami. Good Lord. Gross. Gross, Miami. No. We're talking about money. It would probably be a Trump hospital. Yeah, if you're going to, Palm Beach is the reddest of the South Florida counties. When I was at the RNC a couple weeks ago, we had to get your press credentials in the same hotel with the Florida delegation. So you had some like Boca Biddies, right? Some like Boca Biddies that like they know the floor plan of Mar-a-Lago. These are Republican delegates. And I started talking to this one old lady. And this lady had a rock on her finger that tells you she has ignored double-digit mistresses, right? It is a rock on her finger, the size that can only indicate that she has looked the other way on double-digit women. Because every time she notices one and looks the other way, the rock just grows. It just grows. This thing was like the per capita of Bolivia. That's the size of this rock. But that was the hospital that Anthony's daughter was born in. So, you love to see it. You love to see it. You want to get to the Kamala polls? Let's see some Kamala polls. Let's see some Kamala polls. All right. Economist, YouGov. This is the one that's getting all the attention right now. It has not been factored in to the RCP average here, but Trump 44, Harris 46, Kennedy 3, Stein 0, West 0. So what do we see here immediately? This is now becoming more of a two-person race. If there's one thing that we can say probably unequivocally as we get into the meat of this final 100 days, is that we are looking at declining third-party issues. So if RFK is not up into the tens, and obviously this is going to count more state by state, but if you're not up there, then he's less relevant, right? Everything's going to matter on the margins in really, really close races, but we are not looking at the same race as we were with Trump and Biden, where you had not only a lot of double haters, but you had a lot of people that were seeking permission to go elsewhere. In general, in elections, third-party interest tails off closer to the end anyway. But if you look at something like this, you are seeing that, Kennedy once, like, let's actually take a look at this race. Do we have the spaghetti line? Where's our spaghetti line? We don't get the spaghetti line no more. All right. I guess we don't get the spaghetti line. But RFK was at his highest, like 10, 13, 15, maybe kissing 15. If he's down at the threes, then he matters less. I mean, that's like the doy, but that's real. So it also would indicate that the Kennedy voters that are left are more of the like Russell Brand Kennedy voters and less of the Hyannisport, Massachusetts Kennedy voters. So if we're going to broadly speak, although I don't ever believe that third-party candidates are the reason why major party candidates lose. Major party candidates are the reason why major party candidates lose. But the people that were retreating to Kennedy because they hated Biden, now, at least as we stand now, seem to be in the fold of Harris for today, right? All of this changes as we move on. But right now, you are seeing that Democratic skeptical voters who didn't like Biden now are giving Harris a shot. Will that change? She's got some big decisions to make. She hasn't done an interview. We'll see. But we'll save those conversations for when they come. Let's also remember this. If Harris is at, a 46, 44, let's take this literally. Let's take this as gospel. that probably means that Donald Trump is leading in the swing states. Because national polling, a Democrat has to be at 3+ to be actually winning in swing states, because you can run up the sampling in Illinois and California and New York in a way that isn't going to be matched by raw numbers by red states, right? So your biggest red states are Florida and Texas. You're just not going to match those raw numbers. So in general, the way that you should think about this is that your Democratic candidate isn't really leading the race unless they are up 3-4 in the electoral vote, just because of how in the popular vote, because of how the electoral votes are, especially looking at the demographics of the states that are actually going to matter here. So let's look at these Bloomberg Morning Consult polls, all right? Because these are wacky, absolutely wacky. First, let's look at some of the most insane. Arizona, all right? Arizona is, even with this factored in, a Trump plus 4.2. Morning Consult has it a Harris +2. That is a big, big ding-a-ling swing for Harris. Georgia, tie. Now, like I've said before, and I said on today's PX3, Georgia and Pennsylvania right now are the Harris map. If you can make those two competitive, you're going to make the rest of the Rust Belt competitive. You're going to make the rest of the Sun Belt competitive, because you're going to be talking to the demographics that matter. They were in, the Harris campaign was in Atlanta last night. Megan Thee Stallion helped pack out the room. A lot of excitement. Georgia on her mind. That is what Kamala Harris cares about. And in this Bloomberg Morning Consult poll, she actually does worse, but still tied. Good for her. Both of them at 47. That's pretty high. Now, all right, before we get into the Rust Belt, let's do the rest of the Sun Belt. Arizona, Harris +2. Nevada, Harris +2. That similarly has been a Trump, a 4 or 5 state up till now. Harris +2. Outlier. We're going to wait to see whether or not there are more polls like that, because those two are outliers. But they're not as wacky. Not as wacky as these states. Michigan, Harris +11. If you believe that anybody is up in Michigan by 11 points, friends, I got a bridge to sell you. That is asinine. Asinine. Just, it's not that state. It is not that state. It is not a state that you win by double digits in this kind of polarized environment. What's more asinine is that they say that Pennsylvania is Trump +4. All right? If there's literally zero chance that Harris is up 11 in Michigan, there is less than zero chance that there is a 15-point difference between Pennsylvania and Michigan. Less than zero chance, okay? That is wacky. And there's also a less than zero chance that there's a 6-point difference between Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. What up, Joss? All right. So, these Harris +12 on the 5-way. What the butt? It's interesting that in Nevada, Bloomberg has it tied, meaning that Kennedy hurts Harris in Nevada specifically. What do they have for Arizona? They don't have Kennedy hurting Harris in Arizona, which is interesting because they have a similar makeup. But color me skeptical about the morning consult polls. Any poll that shows a 15-point difference. I mean, all right, here. Oh yeah, let me post the betting odds sheet for the baby too. Please search the internet and find the final voting totals for Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin over the last 5 presidential elections. I'm so jealous that Brian got the new ChatGPT app. He's got the new voice mode. It does voices. You can interrupt it. I'm very jealous. I'm peanut butter and jealous. All right. Well, while that is being looked up, let's post.
Here are the final voting totals for Michigan.
Okay, here we go. So, 2004, there is a 3-point difference. Sorry, 4-point difference between Kerry and Bush. 3-point difference in Pennsylvania. Less than 1-point difference in Wisconsin. 2008, 17-point difference for John McCain. So there we go. If you are talking about John McCain versus Barack Obama, you get a double-digit win in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. 2012, it's a 10-point win for Michigan for Obama. It is an 8-point win in Pennsylvania, and it is a 8-point win in Wisconsin. 2016, it is less than a point, less than a point, less than a point and a half. 2020, less than 2.5 points for Michigan, less than a point in Pennsylvania, less than a point in Wisconsin. So in the last 2 elections with Donald Trump on the ticket, it has not moved beyond 3 points at the outside. Do you guys want to do electoral porn here? We just twist the map a little bit. Just twist the map. Here we go. So we were doing this yesterday on the show. This is right now the map as we are thinking about it. So the big thing before is that the Sun Belt was tilting out of reach for Biden, right? So let's take a look at what that math is. Right now, 235 Republicans, 226 Democrats. So I still think that Arizona and Nevada are leaning Trump. Toss North Carolina as a toss-up as well. No, I don't think I will. It is not a toss-up right now. So let's leave those there. The reason why Georgia is so important is I don't know how well Kamala is going to do in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. There are a lot of different elements of Michigan that I don't know if Kamala is going to be able to square that circle. I'll get into the Kamala stuff in a second. I don't want to spend too much time raining on her parade because right now times are good, and so we will keep times good. Oh yeah, there we go. There are the totals. But let's say she wins Wisconsin, she loses Michigan. We are looking at Georgia and Pennsylvania as the states. And I would say Pennsylvania is the state because she can win Georgia and lose Pennsylvania and she loses the election. Right? She wins Pennsylvania, she wins the election. Now, in general, I think Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin have historically tended to herd. That doesn't mean that they always will. Does not mean that they always will. They have been extraordinarily close in both Trump elections. There is a Trump electorate in these states that keeps things extraordinarily close. And let's remember that Trump got shot in Pennsylvania. So if you want a motivated electorate specifically in one state, go Rose. I don't think that there are enough votes outside of Milwaukee and Madison for Trump to win Wisconsin. Well, tell that to Hillary Clinton. Tell that to Hillary Clinton. Yeah, you want to know what? I feel like I just need to build my own. Is there just like an app that I can have that just does the 270 to win thing? So if Trump wins Wisconsin, Georgia, and Nevada, Kamala wins Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. No. How do we do this? Whatever. There's the idea of a tie here. Now, by the way, here's the one thing that I am kind of settling into about this race. We are in a completely separate siloed worlds for issues. We're not even talking about policy. We're just talking about issues, right? There is nothing that Trump can say that will change the way that Kamala talks about Trump. And there is nothing that Kamala can say that will stop the way that Trump talks about Kamala. Let me put it this way. Donald Trump yesterday, so the Heritage Foundation fired the dude who did Project 2025. Trump campaign put out a press release that said, we celebrate the demise of Project 2025. Let it be a lesson that nobody should be attempting to put words in Donald Trump's mouth. Do you think that's going to stop Kamala Harris from mentioning Project 2025? No. I got MSNBC on my quad in my office. They talk about that book like the 700 Club talks about the Bible. Every damn day. That's how much they talk about Project 2025. Joy Reid had it out on her set. She was thumbing through it like she was Pat Robertson. Meanwhile, Donald Trump will say, oh, I'm not for a national abortion ban. I'm not for banning IVF. I'm not for banning birth control. Do you think it's going to stop Kamala Harris from talking about it? Hell no. She's going to talk about it. Donald Trump will ban abortion federally. Like, she's going to say that. Now, meanwhile, Kamala Harris has said she's not for a mandatory gun buyback. She's not for banning fracking. She's not for Medicare for all. I know. Anthony Caruso weeps. Is that going to stop Donald Trump from saying that she was going to do all of those things? Hell no. There's nothing that either one of them can say that's going to change the way that their core constituency looks at it. And I do think that it kind of takes some of the fun of this when you don't even have to change course. You don't nothing that one thing can do strategically will change the rhetorical thread, because there's no common media. There's no media that a Harris voter and a Trump voter both trust. Where they can say, well, it's a pretty big whiplash for Kamala Harris to lay out everything that she believed in 2019, and now she's going to totally disown it, right? Or for Donald Trump to say that Bitcoin is awful and it's based on thin air, and then he goes to the Bitcoin conference on Saturday and says, "Oh, it's going to be our new strategic reserve." It's look. Positions evolve, policies evolve, but sometimes you need to call out the politicians for having literally no care in the world for what they're going to support and not support. P. Guyton, blue wins if everybody votes in the general. That was the idea. It's not really the idea anymore. Now, the conversations that were happening earlier was that Democrats would do better in a low turnout election. But that was without the enthusiasm where it is. So maybe if enthusiasm's higher, maybe they want a higher turnout election. A lot more people are paying attention to it. That's for damn sure. Project 2025, I've been very dismissive of. And so you guys know I've been dismissive of Project 2025. And part of the reason why I've been dismissive of it is that I have foreseen that Trump could do what he did yesterday and just totally, now that you've put so much attention and heat on it, he could say, oh, well, I don't want it anymore, or I never wanted it. And it could just kind of go by the wayside. Now, I don't know if that affects anybody, but you don't want it to happen. You don't want to put as much heat and pressure on something that your opponent can distance themselves from. Republicans are finding that out with Joe Biden, right? like they irradiated Joe Biden, but they probably did it too soon. You know, maybe they shouldn't have taken that debate. I've joked about the worst campaign mistake in history is Joe Biden suggesting the debate. Turns out it might also be the biggest mistake for Trump to take it, because they took out a corpse that they were definitely going to beat. How are the House and Senate races looking now that the Dems have the Harris energy? Well, we're going to see. You know, there was a Susquehanna poll that had Kamala Harris up in Pennsylvania by 4, but it also only had Bob Casey up by 5, which would seem to mean that some of the ticket splitting that we were seeing polling wise in like record numbers might have been because there were demoralized Biden voters that then felt the Senate meant more. But if they like their presidential candidate, maybe you don't see the same ticket splitting. You don't see never Trump Republicans saying, yeah, but I don't want him to have the Senate too. I like Bob Casey. Or you're seeing the McCormick ads where McCormick, this Senate Republican challenger in Pennsylvania, has really led the way, at least online, with a lot of the Kamala clips from 2019. He has done a lot to kind of irradiate that. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. In 60 years, when you do the raise the dead on 2024, it's going to be the worst election ever. No, it's pretty good so far. Got a late start. You know, it's a very boring primary. And as we found out on the Democratic side, a fake primary. Fake votes. Just a totally irrelevant primary. I got to remember to do this. But I think Friday's PX3, my monologue is going to be to the smoky back room. To the smoky back room. The smoky back room is back in a big way. And guess what? All you little primary democracy lovers, guess what? The old party bosses, the donors, we do know better. Because you love it now, don't you? You love it. This is what democracy got you. Joe Biden's chattering corpse as his head fell off. What does the smoky back room give you? Bright, brilliant, beautiful. Kamala. The smoky back room gives you Brat Summer. The smoky back room says you didn't just fall out of a coconut tree. You exist in the context of which you live. Here's to the smoky back room. Sit back and relax. Justin, you're a man with impeccable gut instincts. Does this new Harris energy seem fleeting in a few weeks, or does it feel different from other spikes of enthusiasms? Gut check only. My gut check only is that not only have we been here before, we've been here before with Kamala. I was in Oakland in 2019. I declined to wait in the line where 12,000 people gathered in Frank Agawa Plaza to welcome her into the race. I watched all that fundraising come in. I watched all the big endorsements come in. And then I watched her run one of the shittiest campaigns, and she was out before Iowa. So I don't believe she's not going to drop out like she did before Iowa. But I don't think these days are going to only escalate. I think we are already seeing some cracks. it looks like she's going to make her announcement for VP either over the weekend or on Monday. She's going to have an event in Philadelphia that would seem to indicate that Josh Shapiro is her vice presidential selection. That's going to really piss off a lot of the Gaza-focused left. Josh Shapiro has called Gaza protesters akin to the KKK. I think that pick would make the DNC a little dicey. I also think that Kamala is somebody that has a triangulation instinct. I don't think she has a great political instinct. I also believe that for all the talk about how adults were coming into that campaign, have we seen any? David Plouffe hasn't been announced as part of it. It looks like Jen O'Malley Dillon is just going to run this campaign. So, the direction that they've led it so far is to call their opponents weird. Kamala is going to eventually not be what she is right now, which is everything to everyone on the left. She is both more of a leftist than Joe Biden. She is both a moderate like Joe Biden. She is the future like Obama, right? Right now, she is a very smooth creature. I was listening to the campaign managers podcast with Kellyanne Conway and David Plouffe this morning. And Kellyanne Conway said that right now she is like, she doesn't have a record. Like we've never known her before. She is just a new avatar, a fresh and clean avatar for all of the Democratic electorate to assign their hopes to. And the best thing about her is that she's not Biden and she's not Trump. She's eventually going to become more real. She's eventually going to have to speak more on what she wants to do and the direction she wants to lead the country. She's eventually going to have to wrap a narrative around why she's running. And that is going to, by the nature of storytelling, be less people's jam or more people's jam. So I do think we are going to ebb off this high. If you think that this is going to be a runaway election for the Democrats, I disagree with you. I do think that this is going to go back and forth. Do I think it's going to be a lot closer than it was with Biden? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. I do. I do believe we are going to see a debate. I think that this whole debate thing was really just the Trump campaign wanting to keep in the information stream that the Democrats switch their candidate. That's all they want. They just want to say, hey, let's just make sure that you're keeping this candidate because the last time we planned a debate, you changed the candidate on us. So we're going to wait to fully confirm until you confirm that your candidate is going to be your candidate. Jussie Smollett is going to be her campaign manager, a famous French actor. It was in Chicago, where the DNC is, that Jussie Smollett of Empire was allegedly attacked and had a rope hung around his neck. That was the same week that Kamala Harris, a senator, introduced an anti-lynching bill. Kamala Harris was one of the fiercest defenders of Jussie Smollett. Hell of a coincidence. Hell of a coincidence. Am I going to visit the subway he was attacked at in Chicago? If it's close. Oh, by the way, I don't know what our link situation is, but I will give you guys the info. Sunday, August 18th, 7 p.m. at the Greenhouse Theater Center. We're Not Wrong live in Chicago. Jen Briney, Andrew Heaton, maybe me, likely me, but whether or not I'm there will be an as yet unannounced special guest that will be moderating the show. Never been on the show before. So that is Sunday, August 18th, 7 p.m. at the Greenhouse Theater in Chicago. We will have ticket details soon. I will see how tickets sell, and then I will announce the special guest. Why can't Biden throw in term limits for all politicians on the way out the door? His Supreme Court, I mean, like, I don't even know, dude. I don't even know, Owen. I don't even know, man. There's an underrated possibility that Joe Biden's just like wandering around in the background might actually be a problem for the Democrats. Because like theoretically, that's something that Kamala Harris should be like on stage with him with. Like that's a pretty big pitch. And also it's something that is definitely not going to happen in the next 100 days. But who knows? Well, Kamala backed it. Ooh, hold on, wait. Let me also post the odds sheet on my Twitter. Doodle-dee. All right. When Iran and Israel get into a hot war, does that help Kamala? I mean, I don't know. You have her in the Situation Room. I mean, like it doesn't make America feel more safe, does it? If this election becomes, who do we feel more comfortable fighting World War III? No Harris Biden statement on the death of Ishmael Haniyeh. I have no idea how to say that man's name. VG Docs, I actually don't dislike how Biden has handled the Israeli conflict. Is your favorite part the fact that Americans are still held captive, or the death of the Palestinian citizens? Which part of it are we? Which part of it do we love? I don't know. I don't know. Look, if all the Americans were out, I would say, look, a light touch or a, like, you better not is what it is. But there's Americans there. There's Americans held captive in Gaza. We built a pier that didn't do shit, and now we've dismantled, literally for an applause line during a State of the Union address that now doesn't matter because the candidate dropped out. I bet Putin invaded Georgia because a Democrat was president. I bet Putin invaded Ukraine because a Democrat was president. I bet Hamas attacked Israel because a Democrat was president. That is friendly. From what I've heard, he does a good job of backing Israel while making it clear he's not down for war crimes. I mean, to be totally honest, I mean, these conversations are something that, number one, are over my head. And I hope you guys appreciate that that is a phrase that I will say, because I understand this situation to be extraordinarily complicated with a lot of different ley lines, that the more you pull, the more you pull other tensions. But I don't believe it is good for the interest of the state of Israel to spend a lot of time in Gaza. But more than that, I believe it is the responsibility of the American president to protect its citizens. I am befuddled by why we are having conversations directly with Hamas and not trying to work beyond Hamas, either with Qatar or Iran, either with carrots or sticks, to get Hamas to do what we want them to do. For us to be putting a peace deal in the hands of Yahya Sinwar, who is sitting in a bunker in Gaza ready to die, seems like a recipe for us to not get shit done. And when Americans are rotting in that same bunker, it doesn't seem to be a productive a pathway, and I don't think that it has been, nor do I think that it benefits the Gazan citizens who are subjugated by not one, but multiple different criminal gangs. I don't know. I just yearn for the days when a fat tub of shit turned his boat the wrong way and got jacked by a Somali teenager, and our American response was to send elite killers around the world to shoot the teenager because the fat piece of shit was an American. Whew. Golden days to be a citizen. Golden days. Golden days. All right, gang, we got the money man. The money man on the program. Okay, so we're going to do that. Thank you guys for joining us. In summation, we'll see you later. I may not be on the stream Friday, trying to get as much World's Greatest Con done as possible. Is Act Blue doing fraud, money laundering? I think Win Red is too. I've heard this stuff about Win Red. The same shit that I've heard about Act Blue, I've heard about Win Red. These small dollar donations have given root to another subsection of mills that essentially take large donations and subdivide it amongst a bunch of people that are essentially identity frauded. But anyway, that's none of my business. See you later.